Hewer, you're going to go back to throw the ball. Sets up, looks, throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball! Down to the 35, the 40. Kenny Wheaton's going to score! Kenny Wheaton is going to score! 20, the 10, touchdown! Kenny Wheaton on the interception! The most improbable finish to a football game!
What's going on, Duck Nation, College Football Nation? This is UODuckBros.
This is the pick!
This is the pick.
Ah!
Kenny Wheaton's gonna score again.
Kenny Wheaton's gonna score.
And again.
I'm gonna tell you what.
And again.
Soak it in. Soak it in, Washington.
You know, this is a fantastic weekend in college football because Husky Hate Week is always the best week. Arguably much better than Civil War Week because, let's be honest, the Bears aren't very good. I mean, Washington's not very good either. But, you know, there's just something to be said about hating on the Huskies.
There is a lot to be said about hating on the Huskies because you know what? I don't care how lopsided it's been. I don't care how bad we've beaten them. I don't care how long we've owned the series. It never gets tiring to me to beat down on Washington. We aren't bowing down to anyone, and we definitely aren't bowing down to you. And I
think
will
if
tell
anybody's
you what,
been bowing down anybody over the last 11 years, it's kind of sort of been Washington now, hasn't it been? Oregon's still averaging, damn near 30 points on average per victory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was
the numbers don't lie. We have outscored them
by a lot.
482 to 167 or something like that. It has been an absolute drubbing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I love every single minute of every single game that we played. I love every touchdown. I love all of the suffering that Seattle's endured for the last decade, and I hope it continues. That goes for Softy KJR up there. That goes for John Bravo. That goes for all of the Huskies. That goes for all their fans. And I was just up there last year, and you guys are throwing breadcrumbs at me. I don't like you guys. And now you have to come to Autzen, and you have to endure thousands of Oregon fans watching our team completely run you out of the building, and it's going to be glorious.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to continue to add to your misery, and it's going to be wonderful.
It's been 4,000 days now?
4,002 days
since Washington beat Oregon in the sport of football.
And I'm going to tell you something. Every single day has been pure bliss, and I hope it continues for a long time. I'm not under any grandeur delusion that we won't lose at some point, because every great thing comes to an end. Every streak ends. But you know what? As long as it continues to happen, I will savor every minute.
Mm-hmm.
But enough with that. Let's actually get into some of the game, predictions. We'll break it down a little bit.
But really quick, before we do that, this particular weekend marks the 20-year anniversary of Oregon's of the pick, which changed Oregon football forever. You know what? We can say all the livelong day about how Oregon before 1994 wasn't any good, and you know what? They weren't. Any real Oregon fan that's been around for longer than a few years, they all know about that, and we own up to that. Oregon wasn't a very good program up until 1994. Their combined win percentage up to that point, I think, was either 43 or 45%. It's not very good.
No.
But after the grand interception from Kenny Wheaton into the end zone that changed Oregon football forever, their combined win percentage since that game has been almost 74%, which is one of the tops in all of college football.
Yeah, it's been absolutely spectacular. And when you think about, now, they interviewed Don Pelham and a few of the other coaches that were around for that play. And, I don't have any doubt that it wasn't, it wasn't just that play that culminated, Oregon, changing the course of history, but it had a lot to do with it. And when you think of one symbolic reason, it's always that play. It's always going to be the pick. That's always going to be what stands out, because what Washington represented at that time was
the hierarchy of Pac-10 football.
It wasn't just the hierarchy of Pac-10 football. It was the hierarchy of the Northwest. And, when you're talking about just the Northwest, when you're talking about the border war, it means a lot. It means more to me than it does the Civil War, to be honest with you. And I look at that play and say that was the moment that we decided we weren't going to be their whipping boy anymore. We were going to stand up and we were going to fight back and we were going to take it to them. And we've done a wonderful job of that.
Oregon's won 15 out of the last 19, which they didn't play in 2001. That's why it's 19 and not 20. So just throwing that little tidbit out there for you.
Right.
So here's the other thing. We can say, well, and I know that Washington fans are going to bring this up. Well, we've got a brand new coach now. We've got Chris Peterson, and Oregon Ducks don't have a very good track record against Chris Peterson. Beat him down with Boise State. Well, guess what? Those were different teams back then. We're talking about Jeremiah Masoli,
right?
Which, I mean, I'm not going to say that he was a bad quarterback because he wasn't. But when you compare that to what Oregon has right now with Marcus Mariota and Oregon State just lost, which is glorious, but that's beside the point. So when you think about having Marcus Mariota and you've got all these great players that Oregon has, if that team were to have played that Boise State team, it wouldn't even have been close. So you know, I don't think that you can really say anything about, well, Chris Peterson's the head coach, that automatically means this and that and the other, because it doesn't. It's still his first year with a team. And there's a lot of things that they have to work out, because Siler Miles hasn't really been, he hasn't really impressed me that much. I mean, he is, to his credit, he is one of 3 quarterbacks in the nation without an interception, of which all of them are from the Pac-12, by the way. It's him, Travis Wilson from Utah, provided he didn't throw an interception, which I don't know if he did or not, and Marcus Mariota. So he is in elite company in that respect. But, I mean, outside of Stanford, who have they really played?
Well, I mean, they really haven't played anyone. Here's the thing. You were down 14 to Georgia State. Okay? You got absolutely taken to the woodshed and probably should have lost to Eastern Washington.
They should have. There's not a lot of excuses for giving up that amount of everything to Eastern Washington, regardless if they are a Division II power or not. You don't let that happen. I don't care if you had your backup quarterback in there or whatever. That is not an acceptable thing.
Not at all. The thing is, though, when you look at Oregon and you look at Washington, obviously right now what stands out is you've got Washington coming into this game playing really good defense. Danny Shelton and that defensive end,
whatever his face is,
Kiwi Kraka, I don't even know his name because I don't really care about Washington football.
Kraka-Kiwi.
Yeah, Kraka-Kiwi. You know that guy.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was funny.
The guy with the tattoos and the skin that's
and the arms
and the hair
and the fingernails.
They lead. They've got one's got 10 sacks, the other one's got 9 sacks and a lot of tackles for loss, and they eat up the middle and they don't give up a lot of yards on the ground and all that stuff, and that's great and dandy. But to be honest with you, I really don't. They don't worry me. I mean, they had a good defense last year, and we absolutely shredded them. Marcus Mariota last year played a wonderful game. I expect a lot of the same. I expect us to run the football. I expect us to play better than average defense. I expect us to move the ball around pretty well. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I don't think it's going to be a tight game either. I think it's going to be pretty tight for the first quarter or two, and then we're going to turn it on at halftime. We're going to win.
And it's in front of the home crowd.
And you know what? Siler Miles is not Anu Solomon. He's not, that whole spread system that Rich Rodriguez runs is not what Chris Peterson runs. It's just a different coach, different game.
And he's still trying to get his system set in.
I just don't see any position here where Oregon should really be worried about this game. Obviously, rivalry games, you figure that those are going to play a lot closer.
Especially because this is the game that Washington's circling on the calendar.
Every single year. They can say that they're not, Oregon can say they're not, but we all know what this game means to them as well as us.
I mean, to Washington, I'm not a Washington fan, so I don't know this, but if I would have to imagine that this game is everything. It really is. This is the game that you want to win more than anything in the world.
You're 5-1 if you're Washington right now. You're 5-1. So this really is a measuring stick as to where you are as a football team and where your season's going to go from here, because it can go one of two ways. You can win this game, or if you lose this game, how realistic is it for you going through the schedule that you're going to be able to keep winning? I don't really know. But I just don't see any facet of this game that really worries me too much. I'm not really buying into Chris Peterson being able to turn this team around in 1 year now, talk to me in 2 or 3 years. But he's not going to have that big of an impact right away. These are still Sarkisian's kids with Sarkisian's mindset, and I just don't feel that they have a winning pedigree right now. They're fool's gold. They're a good team. They're not a great team. And they're not going to beat us either.
No chance. Oregon is not going to allow themselves to get beat on their home turf again.
There is no way that we are going to get beat at home by the Washington Huskies.
Not a chance.
There is absolutely no way. I will rub my nose in gravel for hours if we lose to the Huskies. I will
for hours.
For hours. I will cause physical harm to my body if we lose to the Huskies. It just can't happen.
And I don't think that it will. Pardon me for moving around so much. I'm sitting on an ottoman and it really hurts. But I don't see a lot of things that's going to keep Oregon from being able to run the ball efficiently, especially now that Jake Fisher's back on the offensive line. That's been a monstrous improvement over one game. I mean, you saw it immediately. I mean, Mariota's still going to be able to get the ball to his receivers because there's a lot of speed there, and they have great hands. We've come to find out pretty quickly that the defense is getting better. I mean, there's still some holes there. There's still some problems.
How are those knees?
It sucks, man. This is what happens when one of your computer chairs breaks in half. You got to make do with a weird sized ottoman that's not really getting it done. But I don't think that Washington has anything that I'm afraid of. I don't see it.
To be honest with you, I will be shocked if this game is close at the end. I feel like there'll be that, normal feeling out period as to what each team likes to do and where they like to go with the football. And there's going to be that, few series where it probably doesn't look as crisp as you'd like. And it's going to be kind of frustrating at first, I feel like. But then I as we normally do at halftime, we make those adjustments and we come out with our hair on fire. And I believe Mariota's going to have a very big game. I believe he's going to be making a lot of plays. I feel like Royce Freeman and Tyner are going to have a breakout game because I feel like they're both going to run the ball well. Our offensive line is going to open holes. And I just don't see a lot of answers. I know Washington is a good defense. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I just don't think for 4 quarters they have the horses to stay with us. I just don't. So it's going to be a really good game. I can't wait for Saturday. We're almost here. It's almost Friday already.
And I get to miss part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I get to be at work for the first hour of it. So, I'll definitely be streaming part of it.
But how sick are those jerseys that we're going to be wearing, by the way?
God.
We're wearing the pick jerseys, and they're selling them for the fans to buy, which I'm so stoked about. All those retro Oregon Duck things that we probably threw away because we outgrew them when we were kids, or we gave them away at garage sales and we don't have anymore, are now available to buy again. And
slightly modernized.
Slightly, but still has that throwback feel.
It's got the essence.
And it's just going to be a magical day for Oregon fans. It's going to be a day of melancholy and suicidal thoughts for Seattle.
Yeah.
So
they missed the playoffs in baseball, and they're going to lose to the Ducks again.
I can't wait. It's going to be wonderful. So with that said, what are your score predictions, sir?
Score prediction for me. I get to go first. Huh? That's weird. I'm going to say Oregon 49, Washington 20.
So it's going to be another normal Oregon drubbing.
I think so.
You're saying.
And I'm trying to give Washington some credit here. They do have some playmakers. I'm not saying that this is, a few years ago Washington where they've got absolutely nothing going. They do have playmakers on both sides of the ball, but I think that Oregon is starting to kind of catch its stride a little bit here, and I think that once Oregon gets going in this game, I just don't see them being stopped. I think that Washington will still be able to put some good drives together, but I don't see them being able to keep up with Oregon. I just don't.
I don't either.
So I think it's going to be, I think it'll be close for a little bit, but I think that in the second half, Oregon's going to put their foot on the gas and put it away.
I'm going to go 42-14 Oregon.
Well, you're really going worse than I did. Huh?
I really am.
Oh, wow.
I really do feel like Oregon is going to really step it up this week. I'm calling it right now. Ifo gets a pick. Joe Walker has more than 10 tackles. Tony Washington gets more than 2 sacks.
That's fair. Right there.
And I honestly believe that this is going to be a game that really shows the differences between a real one-loss team and a one-loss team that has kind of skated by. Mm-hmm. And I just can't wait for Saturday. So this is UODuckBros wishing, of course, all of our Duck fans around Oregon and in different states a very happy Husky Hate Week.
Now,
we look forward to Saturday.
One tiny thing. Can Oregon lose this game?
No.
Of course they can lose this game, but
no.